Okay, so I'm Brittany Howard. I'm a Diamond Ambassador. Super honored to be here, and I'm slightly nervous talking to a room full of future diamonds. But today we are going to open this retreat with a talk about a sensitive issue, which is money mindset, because we all have different beliefs and thoughts surrounding this topic, and oftentimes it can even keep us from like really going all in. Like if you have guilt or fear surrounding this topic, it's going to keep you from reaching your potential. It will keep you from taking the action that you could take or being effective in the action that you are taking. So that's what we're going to open with. I want to ensure that you get as much as you can out of this retreat by going ahead and just upfront addressing this topic so that you are able to fully receive all of the equipping and inspiration and training that you're going to get here in the next 2 days. So let's talk about money mindset. So here's my thought on it. First of all, you should not feel guilty about it. And I can speak to this from experience because especially I feel like in Christian circles, which I think most people here can relate, but it's sometimes there's like a stigma around like being ambitious, or like definitely the Bible talks about the love of money, and the Bible does talk about, does address this topic, but like how can you tell if your desire to make more money is actually wrong? Should you feel guilty about it? Like I'm going to speak from experience because I have felt guilty about it because I just didn't know, like, how can I tell if this is a love of money or like if this is a, should I really want to make more money? Like, should I just be content? Questions like that. Okay, so definitely speaking from experience, but I just want you to know that a desire to make more money is not what the Bible would term or call a love of money. And we're going to talk about how to tell the difference. But I believe that a desire to make more money, or a desire to make a lot of money, or a desire to build massive amounts of wealth, that is a good desire. It's a God-given desire that, just like any God-given desire, can easily give you snares, or like, yes, you could fall into temptation. Could it become sinful? Yes, it could. But think about sex. Is a desire to have sex sinful? No. What about food? Is a desire to eat food 3 times a day and maybe 2 snacks in between? Is that wrong? I mean, no, it's not. Like, these are God-given needs, God-given desires, but can they get out of balance? Can they become wrong? Yes, they can. So I guess the question is, how can you tell when you've crossed the line? So I think sex would be an obvious one, right? Like, you probably can tell when you've crossed the line of this is a good thing, this is within bounds, and this is, out of God's design or whatever. I think with food requires a little more discernment, because is it wrong to want to indulge every once in a while? No. But if you can't stop thinking about indulging, or if indulging is something that you do excessively, then yes, I mean, the Bible would term that gluttony, right? So yes, we have this God-given desire to make more money, that I believe this desire is what makes you a useful human being. Your desire to have more, to do more, to be more, it's what makes you a productive person. It's what makes you useful to your fellow mankind. What if all of the diamonds and jewels in this room hit their rank and they just said, oh, I got diamond money, I'm good, I'm content, don't need any more money? What if we all thought that or believed that? Well, the answer is none of you would be sitting here, because we'd all be on the beach with an umbrella drink in our hand right now. Well, maybe not right now. Well, maybe you could. It just depends on where. But anyway, I digress. So I think that your desire to make more money, it's God-given. It's a good thing if used wisely. So I'm gonna skip around. I changed some things around in my notes. All right, so another thing too, not just like in Christian circles, but I do think like in our culture overall, wealthy people do tend to be demonized. Like, right, we hear a lot about like Wall Street and Main Street and the haves and the have-nots and like the 1%. Let me just give you some statistics here. If you in America, you are, let's just say you make $34,000 a year. In America, that would be definitely lower middle class. It might even be defined as lower class. You are in the top 1% globally. So rich or wealthy or having a lot of money, that's totally relative because it depends on who you're comparing yourself to. If you only live off $11,000 a year in America, you are in the top 14% globally. So it's so easy for us to sit here and make judgments like, she spent how much money on a purse? Do you know how much good? Do you know how many poor kids in Africa you could feed that? Like, it's so easy to make judgments, but we don't like blink an eye at spending $5 on a biscuit at McDonald's or whatever. Like, proportionately, it's literally the same thing depending on your income level. Okay. So I just want to make that clarification too. People are going to make judgments about you no matter what you do in life. One of my favorite quotes is, you can be the juiciest, ripest peach in the world, and there's always going to be someone who does not like peaches, right? So you have, like, what you do with your money, that's between you and God. And it's okay to be firm in that and then not allow other people to make you feel guilty about how much money you have or how much money you want to have. All right, so let's talk about a proper view of money. Let me pull my phone out so I can make sure I'm on time. Okay, so proper view of money. Money is a tool to help you live out your core values. And I want you to pay attention to the word tool, because think about a tool. What's a tool? Like a hammer. A hammer is neutral. A hammer doesn't really care what I do with it. I could build a house with it. I could use it to construct wells in Africa. I could also throw it through that window and destroy something. The hammer doesn't care what I do with it. It's just a tool. It's amoral. It's neutral. It's not good or bad. Money is a tool. Okay? So you can do a lot of good things with money. You can do a lot of bad things with money. But money in and of itself is completely neutral. But money is a tool that will help you live out your core values. Do you know what your core values are? I recommend that you do this exercise. Go find a list. You can just Google. Don't do it right now. No phones allowed. But write it down. Take action on this later, because this will increase your self-awareness. But go and Google core values assessment or top 100 core values. Just find a list of 100 words that describe values people have. Circle 20. And then out of the 20, cross out 10. And then out of the 10, you're going to have to stare and think really hard, because it's going to be very hard to narrow it down, but choose the 5. Choose your top 5 things that are so important to you, like in your relationships, in your career, in your parenting, marriage, everything. Pick your top 5 core values, where like at the end of your life, if you have these things, you know that you've done well and that you feel confident that God would say, well done, good and faithful servant. Like, these are the things that make you, you. These are the things that are most important to you. And once you are aware of what these things are, then ask yourself, are you fully living these out? And if you're not, then why not? Like, what's keeping you from being able to live out your core values? So like for me, one of my core values will definitely be connecting with people in relationships. So how that applies to my life is, one thing I want is a swimming pool. We just built a house, our dream home, and I would love to install a swimming pool. I'm not doing it yet because of money, right? Is a desire to want that swimming pool wrong? No. But like, why do I want the swimming pool? Well, because it's going to help me live out my core values. Like, I'm envisioning my kids being able to invite all their friends over and them having just solid community and feeling like they have a circle where they're accepted and where they belong. I'm envisioning inviting people from my church. I'm envisioning hosting team parties and trainings. Like, And just that's how I would serve people, is by relating to them. It's one of my strengths, it's one of my values. And so more money in this case would help me live out my core values, right? So that's how that applies. But you need to be aware of what your core values are, and then ask yourself, in 5 years from now, if your life looked exactly the same as it does right now, would you be okay with that? And an even better question, would God be okay with that? And here's a good example of, or not a good example, but a good I think illustration of like how you can tell. So the parable of talents, it's in the book of Matthew. He talks about how there was like an owner, a landowner. He went on a journey, and he's entrusting his assets to basically managers. He's going to leave his assets to people to manage. He gives the first one 5 talents, the second one 2 talents, the third one 1 talent. And when he comes back, the one that had the 5 talents had doubled it, had 10, which, by the way, I've heard Dave Ramsey talk about this, and he says that a talent is equivalent to our $1 million. So he gives 5 billion to the first one, 2 million, 1 million. The one who he gave 5 million to, he comes back, he had doubled it, he had 10. And then the one who had 2 million, he comes back, he doubled, he had 4. The one who had 1 million, he had 1 million. And he was like, what in the world? You know, why didn't you invest my money? And he's like, well, I was afraid. I knew you were harsh. And so I was scared, and I didn't know what you would do. And I just buried it, and I didn't do anything with it. So here's your money back. I kept it safe. And so he was like, he told the ones who had invested the money, well done. You did a great job. Here's more. And then he said the one who did nothing with it, because he was scared, he said, you're wicked and you're lazy. And he took what he had given to him, and he gave it to the other ones. So the point is, 5 years from now, if your life looks exactly the way it does now, would God be okay with that? I think God wants us to expand. He wants us to be using our gifts, our resources, our talents, whether it's our money, our time. Like, he wants us to be investing it and growing it. He wants us to be expanding and growing it. Okay. So I think that's a better question for reflection, is would God be okay with my life 5 years from now if I bury it and do nothing with it? Just keep doing what I'm doing. Okay. Also, I think from Parable of Talents, another good thing to pay attention to is that the guy who owned everything, like, he left it to people to manage. We're not the owners. We're just the managers. Like, it all doesn't belong to us anyway. We're just managing it. So we have a responsibility to manage it well. And in by definition, from this parable, we can see that the responsibility is to grow it. Okay. Okay. A desire to make more money is what drives you to add value to people and meet needs and solve problems in the marketplace. So it makes you a useful person. If I had no desire to increase my income, and I just thought to myself, I'm good where I'm at, and I call myself content, which we're going to talk about contentedness. But if I just say, I'm just going to spend the rest of my days working on my golf handicap, or just on the beach with an umbrella drink in my hand, then what use is that to people? Like, how does that add value to people? Your drive to make more money or provide a better life for your family, that drive is the very thing that causes you to get creative on how you can solve other people's problems by providing a product or a service, even if it's just like, even if you're an employee, right? Like, if you have a job, it's because you need to make money to make a living. And that desire is what causes you to show up. Your job is needed. Like, people need you to do work so that we all have our needs met. Like, we go to the refrigerator in the morning and we don't think 2 thoughts about grabbing an egg and also a piece of bread and some butter and some milk or some oatmeal. And it's all very convenient for us to just throw this like huge breakfast together in a hurry without ever having to feed any chickens or clean up chicken poop, or milk the cows or grow the wheat or mill it or like any of those things, right? We are able to go to our refrigerator in the morning and do all those things because somebody somewhere had a desire to make more money, because they had a drive to serve, they had a drive to be useful. So your drive to make money, it is a God-given drive. If it were not there, we would not be useful to each other. Okay, so God put it there. So stop feeling guilty about it. Okay, God has called some of us to be in ministry, but most of us, our work is our ministry. Like most of us are not called to be pastors or missionaries. And most of us, like our ministry, that word just means service. Okay. I know that that's kind of Christianese language, but like ministry, that word just means service. And so most of us, our service is in the marketplace. It's where we interact with other people. That is our work. And it's where we're going to be able to influence others and things like that. So also some people feel guilty about money because they think like they want to do something honorable, like it feels more noble to them to do something ministry related, but God has called you to do work, and that is your ministry. So I also think that is important to understand. Okay, so hold on, I got my notes mixed up. Okay, so that's a proper view of money. Oh no, there's one more thing. Jews. I think this is a very interesting point. So Jews, if you were to look at like a list of the wealthiest people in the world, Jews make up a disproportionate amount of people's names on that list. And what I mean by that is globally, Jews make up a very, very small percentage of the population, but a very large percentage of the wealth. And the reason for that is because of the way they view money. They view wealth building as inherently good. They believe God wants them to build wealth. Imagine if you believed that. How would you work differently? They teach their children to celebrate making money, because they literally have ceremonies where they have and I think it's around Hanukkah. I'm not like super affluent in Jewish culture, but I think it's around Hanukkah where they actually have these little rituals where they have their children count their money like in front of each other, and then they celebrate how much money they've made, because the money is a reflection of how well they have problem solved for others, how well they have served. So they view it as inherently good. And I believe that is a proper view. Now, like I said, this thing can get out of balance. And I understand that because I have been out of balance. Okay. And I think there are going to be times where we struggle with this. It's the human condition. So when does the desire to make more money become the love of money? Y'all better listen fast. And I think that, well, here's the answer to that. It's when you're not content. But let's define being content. Content, that is when you are trusting God while you are putting in the work. You are able to do your best. So let's just say I'm a farmer. And there's no doubt in my mind, like I'm going to have to work hard. If I want to eat and if I want my family to eat, there's no doubt in my mind that every single day, regardless of whether I feel like it, I'm going to have to go to work. I'm going to have to plant the seeds. I'm going to have to cultivate the soil, like all of these things. It's so much work, but there's no doubt in my mind also, where's the rain coming from? So contentedness is when you work as hard as you do your best. How do you know if you're working hard enough? Well, that's between you and God, but are you doing your best? Like, can you with full confidence say, I'm doing my best? I'm working as hard as I can. If I was a farmer, what would that look like? Like if I had to eat, I had to work out here to survive, what would that look like? Are you working your business that way? And then trusting God for the result, because like I said, there's no doubt in a farmer's mind where the rain is coming from, okay? He provides the result, but if the rain comes and you've not sown any seeds, you get mud. So you do have to work hard. So contentedness does not mean that I don't have goals or that I don't have ambition or drive or that I'm not working hard. That's not what it means. So when does a desire to make more money become the love of money? It's when you're not content. And how can you tell if you're not content? 3 ways. This is from Dave Ramsey's book, The Legacy Journey, which I 10 out of 10 recommend. Great book, best book he's ever written. You definitely need to check that out, especially if this area that I'm talking about is resonating with you. Read this book. I'm reading it the 2nd time through currently. I love it. But 3 ways to tell if you are struggling with contentedness. First one is when you have a desire to get rich quick. Like you want to make a lot of money without having to put the work in. And what that looks like in plexus is you are resenting the work it's going to take. Proverbs 28:20, a faithful man will abound with blessings, but he who hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. Or the Message version of that same verse is committed and persistent work pays off. Get rich quick schemes are ripoffs. All right. So what about some of you have found that this business is way harder than you thought it would be? Can I get an amen? Did any of you come into this thinking this is going to be easy? It's business though. It's not a lottery ticket. If you have the thought of this should feel easier and you're resenting the work that it is going to take, whether that is how many people you have to talk to or how many people you have to develop or how much brain space and energy it's going to take you to develop the people, if you're resenting the work, then you are not content. That's not that you are expecting to get rich quick, okay? The second way you can tell if you're not content, when you try to appear to be wealthy and you're not actually wealthy. So that's like living a lifestyle you cannot afford. Dream house, 2 luxury cars in the driveway, all the kids in a private school, diamonds dripping from your hands, all of the nicest clothes in mountains of debt. Okay, that's living a lifestyle you cannot afford. By the way, this is the quickest way to feel frustrated with your team instead of grateful for your team. If you want to be annoyed by your team on a constant basis, live above your means. Spending money, another way to look at this, as far as trying to appear wealthy. Spending money on things, not really because like you really truly want that, but like the internal motive is you want to impress somebody. That's trying to appear to be wealthy. That would be a lack of contentedness. All right. The third way to tell if you're not content, anxiety about what you don't have. And I think this is going to be the biggest one for most of us. But it's basically just like being fixated about what you don't have instead of being grateful for what you do have. And like refusing to be happy until you have it. Feeling like I won't be able to be like fully satisfied until fill in the blank. Until I hit that rank. Until I have that amount of money in my bank account. Until I have XYZ, okay? So it would look like rarely feeling gratitude or thinking about gratitude. And some of you are probably sitting here letting yourself off the hook because you think, oh, I'm so grateful, thankful, grateful, blessed. But heart check, be honest with yourself. How do you actually feel when you log into your virtual office? You feeling all them gratitudes when you log in that back office? Or are you getting anxious? Are you looking at that number that it reflects your points and thinking, that's not enough? That's not where it should be. That's anxiety over what you don't have. Okay, so that would be a lack of contentedness. All right, so contentedness does not mean complacency. A contented spirit is never, ever, ever an excuse for idleness. So Paul, I think he's a great example, always moving and working, always. So here's what he says in Philippians. Forgetting those things which are in the past and reaching forward to those things which are ahead, I press toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. But same guy who said all these things about running the race, pressing forward, forgetting the past, same guy, a few verses later says, I've learned to be content whatever the circumstance. So contentedness just looks like I'm doing my best and I know I'm working as hard as I can work and I'm trusting God for the result and I'm perfectly happy with the season God has me in. Like I don't have to have some external thing to be satisfied, to be happy, to be joyful. So God has plans for your life, and those plans always are going to involve a whole lot of action. Paul was always like, got places to go, people to see, right? Like the plans always involve lots and lots of action. So you're called to do your work heartily, right? Happy thank you more, please. That would, oh gosh, I'm probably going over time here. Okay, I'm gonna try to wrap it up, y'all. So I'll just skip that part. Fear of making money, because I need to address this. Sometimes it's not guilt over making money. Sometimes it's a fear of what will I be like though if I do have all that money. Here's what I need you to know. Money does not change people. It only brings out more of what is already there. It's just going to amplify what is there. So you can just rest assured that you're not going to become a different person, but it's definitely going to be a magnifying glass. It's going to reveal some things that you might not even know about yourself right now. So it's not going to change you. Fear of criticism, like I'm scared of what people are going to think if I have that much money. Well, like I said, people are going to criticize you no matter what you do. So you may as well do the right thing and you may as well do what you want to do, right? I mean, folks always going to have something to say. You can't like live your life based on what others are going to think of you. That thought right there steals people's potential, I think, more than any other thought. And then fear of not being able to manage it well. I mean, that is a legitimate fear because if you have poor money habits now, making more money is not going to fix the problem. A lot of people think all these problems in my life is because I don't have enough money. But here's what the truth is. If you were to take all of the money in the whole entire world and divide it up evenly between the 6 billion people that live on the planet, in a matter of time, all of the money would end up in the same hands. And that is because when you have money problems, then having more money does not fix your habits. And you can learn how to manage money well. You're learning how to grow a business, right? So skill, anybody can learn that. You can learn how to manage money well. It's a skill. So, and then just learning to live off less than you make. Just don't live above your means. That causes so much stress and robs you of freedom. All right, so this trip is going to equip you to be more useful. It's going to equip you to serve people better. That desire that you have to make more money, capitalize on it. Embrace it. It's a good desire. It's a good thing that you should not have guilt over or fear over. So lean in and get what you came for from this retreat. It's going to require focus. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Fallon and James.